Let me say something that's going to sound harsh at first, but stick with me, because by the end, you'll see it's actually the most respectful thing you can do for yourself. Stop giving everything you have, your time, your energy, your attention, your best self, to someone who hasn't shown you through her actions that she's worth that investment. Read that again, because it's not about being cold. It's not about keeping score or playing games or holding back out of spite. It's about something much simpler and much more important. You cannot keep pouring from a cup that nobody's filling back up. And if you've ever found yourself constantly giving, constantly showing up, constantly initiating, constantly being the one who cares more, texts first, plans the date, remembers the details, while getting very little of that same energy back, I want you to know that what you're feeling isn't wrong. It's not you being needy or dramatic. It's your gut telling you something your mind hasn't caught up to yet. This is imbalanced. And imbalance doesn't fix itself just because you try harder. Here's the thing most men are never taught growing up. We're raised on a very specific formula for success. Work hard and you'll get results. Study more and your grades go up. Put in the reps at the gym and your body changes. Show up early and stay late at your job, and eventually you get noticed, promoted, respected. That formula is drilled into us from childhood. And in most areas of life, it actually holds up. Effort in, results out. So it makes complete sense that when we enter relationships, we bring that exact same mindset with us. We think, if I just do more, if I'm more attentive, more generous, more available, more thoughtful, she'll see it, she'll appreciate it, and she'll fall for me. It feels logical, it feels fair, it feels like it should work. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Nobody sits you down and tells you, relationships don't run on that formula. Attraction and connection are not a rewards program where enough points cashed in guarantee a prize. A person doesn't fall for you because you've accumulated enough good deeds. They fall for you, or they don't, based on how being around you actually makes them feel, based on mutual respect, based on genuine compatibility, based on two people choosing each other again and again, freely. And when you don't understand that distinction, you end up in a painful, confusing cycle. You give and give and give, thinking you're building something solid. And then one day you look up and you're exhausted. You're smaller than when you started, and somehow you're still not sure where you stand with her. That confusion, that ache of, I did everything right, so why doesn't this feel right? That's the direct result of confusing effort with value. And let's be real about what this actually looks like in practice, because it's not always obvious when you're in it. It's the guy who cancels his own plans the second she reaches out, every single time, training himself to treat his own time as less important than her convenience. It's the guy who ignores it when he's treated inconsistently hot one day, distant the next, and tells himself if he just stays patient and keeps being good to her, she'll come around. It's the guy who stops voicing what he actually wants, stops bringing up things that bother him, stops showing up as his full honest self because some part of him is scared that if he does, she might pull away. That's not devotion. That's slowly erasing yourself piece by piece in the hope that enough self-sacrifice will eventually be rewarded with love. And here's the part that stings the most. It almost never works that way. Because a connection built on one person over-giving and the other person simply receiving isn't a foundation. It's a leaning tower. And leaning towers eventually fall. So today, we're not talking about tricks. We're not talking about playing games or pretending not to care or manipulating someone into wanting you more by withholding affection. None of that is what this is about. And if that's what you came here looking for, you're going to be disappointed. because that stuff doesn't build anything real. It just delays the same collapse. What we are talking about is something much more foundational, understanding the actual difference between effort and value. Learning to recognize when you're giving from a place of genuine connection versus giving from a place of fear or hope, and figuring out what it really takes to build something that doesn't just start strong, but lasts. Because the goal was never to get someone to stay. The goal is to become the kind of man grounded, self-respecting, whole on his own, that the right person doesn't need convincing to choose. Let's break down exactly how to get there. Think about everything you were ever taught about how to succeed at anything in life. From the time you were a kid, the message was the same, whether it came from a coach, a teacher, a parent, or a boss. Work harder and you'll get results. Show up to practice more and you'll get better. Put in extra hours at work and eventually you'll get noticed and promoted. Study more and your grades improve. It's a formula that's been drilled into us since childhood, and honestly, in most areas of life, it's true. Effort in, results out. So, it makes complete sense that when it comes to relationships, we bring that exact same mindset with us. We think, if I just do more for her, more favors, more attention, more gifts, more availability, she'll notice, she'll appreciate it, and eventually she'll fall for me. It feels logical. It feels like the fair, honest way to earn someone's affection. The problem is, relationships don't run on that formula. And the sooner you understand that, the sooner you stop wasting your energy in the wrong direction. Here's what's actually true. People don't fall for the amount of effort someone puts in. They fall for how being around that person makes them feel. Those are two completely different things, and confusing them is where so many good men go wrong. You can do 100 kind, generous, thoughtful things for someone. And if none of those things actually made her feel a genuine pull toward you, curiosity, excitement, respect, ease, then all that effort just sits there, unconverted, like currency, in a country that doesn't accept it. It's not that she doesn't notice what you're doing, it's that noticing isn't the same as feeling something. And attraction, connection, respect, those are built on feeling, not on a tally of nice things you've done. Now picture how this actually plays out in real life, because it's a pattern you've probably seen before, maybe even lived yourself. A guy meets someone he's really into, and almost immediately he goes all in. He's texting her good morning every single day. He's available the second she reaches out, no matter what he had planned. He's buying things, doing favors, rearranging his schedule around hers, showering her with compliments before he even really knows her. In his mind, he's showing her how serious he is, how much he cares, how different he is from other guys. But from her side of it, it often reads completely differently. It can feel like too much, too fast, from someone she barely knows yet. And instead of drawing her closer, it raises questions. Why is he trying this hard already? What's going on in his life that he has this much time and energy to pour into someone he just met? That's not judgment on her part being unfair. It's a completely natural response to intensity that hasn't been earned by time or depth yet. Now, compare that to a man who's genuinely built a full life for himself. He's got things he's working toward, people he spends time with, hobbies and goals, and a rhythm to his days that exist completely independent of whether he's dating anyone at all. When he meets someone he's interested in, he shows genuine interest. He's not cold, he's not playing games, but he's also not rearranging his entire existence around her from day one. Because he doesn't need to. He has plenty going on already. And ironically, that's exactly what makes him more compelling to be around. Not because he's using some clever strategy, but because his life demonstrates something real. He's a whole person on his own, and being with him would be an addition to someone's life, not a rescue from boredom or loneliness. This is the core lesson, and it's worth repeating because it goes against everything we're taught elsewhere in life. Effort without genuine connection is wasted motion. You are not going to be judged, appreciated, or desired based on how much you do. You're going to be felt based on who you are and how being around you actually lands. So the fix here isn't to suddenly do less as some kind of calculated strategy that's just another version of playing games, and people can usually sense that too. The real fix is to stop treating another person as the missing piece that completes your life, and instead build a life so full, so genuinely yours, that whoever you bring into it is adding to something that already works, not filling a hole that was there before they showed up. There's a really important distinction that gets blurred all the time. And once you see it clearly, you'll start noticing it everywhere in your own behavior and in the people around you. That distinction is the difference between being reliable and being a pushover. On the surface, they can look similar. Both involve showing up. Both involve being agreeable, easy to be around, low drama. But underneath, they come from completely different places, and they produce completely different outcomes. Being reliable is a genuine strength, and don't let anyone convince you otherwise. It means your word actually means something. When you say you'll be somewhere, you're there. When you commit to something, you follow through. People around you know that when push comes to shove, you're not going to flake, ghost, or disappear the moment things get inconvenient. That kind of consistency is rare, and it's valuable, and it's something you should hold on to and be proud of. Reliability builds trust, and trust is the foundation that everything else in a relationship gets built on top of. But self-erasure is a completely different animal wearing a similar looking mask. Self-erasure is when you agree with everything, even when you don't actually agree, just to keep the peace. It's when you never voice your real opinion because some part of you is worried that having a different view might create tension, might make her upset, might somehow put the relationship at risk. It's when you go out of your way to avoid any kind of friction or disagreement at all costs. Smoothing everything over, swallowing your own preferences, needs, and feelings so consistently that after a while, you're not even sure what you actually think anymore. And here's the hard truth about that pattern. It's not kindness. It might look like kindness from the outside. It might even feel like kindness while you're doing it. But at its core, it's fear wearing kindness as a costume. It's the fear of conflict, the fear of rejection, the fear of not being enough as you actually are, all dressed up to look like being a good, easygoing partner. And here's the part that really matters, the part that changes how you think about all of this. That kind of self-erasing behavior doesn't actually make you feel safer to be around, even though that's usually the whole point of doing it. It does the opposite. When someone can predict that you'll agree with literally everything, that you'll never push back, that you'll fold the second there's any tension at all, it doesn't read as safe or stable. It reads as someone with no center, someone whose sense of self bends and reshapes depending on what's needed to keep things smooth. And a person with no center is very hard to respect and even harder to feel genuinely drawn to because there's nothing solid there to lean against. You can't feel secure with someone who has no fixed shape. So what's the actual fix here? It's not about manufacturing distance. It's not about deliberately disagreeing with people just to seem interesting or holding back your real feelings as some kind of strategic move to create tension. That's just a different flavor of the same problem, performing something instead of actually being it. The real fix is much simpler and much harder at the same time. Actually have opinions and voice them. Actually build and protect a life outside of any relationship, friendships, goals, interests, routines that exist because they matter to you, not because they're useful for looking independent. And most importantly, stop needing someone else's approval or validation to know that you're worth something. When your sense of worth comes from inside you, rather than from constantly managing how someone else feels about you, you stop needing to erase yourself to keep the peace. You can disagree without panicking. You can have a bad day without apologizing for it. You can say what you actually think. And if it creates a little friction sometimes, that's fine, because real connection was never about the total absence of friction in the first place. It was about two whole people, each with their own center, choosing to build something together. There's a quiet trap that a lot of good, well-meaning men fall into without ever realizing it's happening. And it starts with something that actually looks admirable on the surface. It's the pattern of becoming someone's fixer. The guy who's always there the moment something goes wrong. Her car breaks down and you're the first call. She's had a terrible day and you're the one who listens for hours. She's going through a rough patch with her family, her job, her own head, and you're the steady shoulder she leans on every single time. And in those moments, it feels good. It feels meaningful. There's something deeply satisfying about being the person someone turns to in a crisis, about feeling useful, needed, essential. It taps into something real in a lot of men, the desire to protect, to help, to be depended on. So it's easy to mistake that feeling of being needed for a sign that the relationship is strong, that you matter to her, that you're building something real together. But here's the distinction that changes everything once you actually see it. Being needed and being valued are not the same thing, and mistaking one for the other can quietly wreck you. When someone needs you, it usually means you're serving a function in their life at that particular moment. You're solving a problem, filling a gap, providing stability during instability. That's not nothing, but it's conditional. It's tied to circumstance. The moment the crisis passes, the moment her life stabilizes, the moment she doesn't have that particular problem anymore, the function you were serving disappears along with it. And if the only thing holding the connection together was that function, then you disappear right along with it too. Being valued is different. Being valued means someone wants you around, not because you're solving something for them, but simply because of who you are and how you make them feel. Even when everything in their life is going perfectly fine and they don't need anything from you at all. Here's how this usually unfolds, and if you've lived through it, you'll recognize every step of it. You meet someone at a difficult point in her life. Maybe she's going through a breakup. Maybe she's stressed about work. Maybe things at home are chaotic. And you show up. You're patient. You're supportive. You're the calm in her storm. And for a while, it feels like the two of you are building something real. She tells you how much she appreciates you, how different you are from everyone else, how grateful she is that you're there. And you believe, understandably, that this closeness is the foundation of something lasting. But then her life starts to come back together. The crisis resolves. She gets her footing back. And slowly, without a dramatic moment or a clear explanation, you notice the energy shift. She's less responsive, less interested in the long conversations, less pulled toward you than she used to be. And you're left standing there confused. Because from where you're sitting, nothing changed. You're the same guy who was there for her the whole time. But from her side, something did change. The role you played, the one she genuinely needed in that moment, simply isn't necessary anymore. And if that role was the entire foundation of the connection, there's nothing left underneath it to hold things together. This is why building a connection primarily on someone's dependency on you is such a fragile strategy, even when it doesn't feel like a strategy at all, even when it feels like genuine care. Because a lot of the time, it is genuine care. The problem isn't that caring for someone in crisis is wrong. It's that if being the fixer is the only role you ever play, you never actually find out whether she wants you for you or whether she wants what you provide. And that uncertainty should bother you because you deserve to know the difference. Real lasting connection isn't built on one person's brokenness and the other person's willingness to patch it up. It's built on two whole people who would choose each other even on an ordinary Tuesday when nothing is wrong, when there's no crisis to manage, when there's nothing to fix, just two people who genuinely enjoy being around each other because of who they are, not because of what one of them can provide for the other. Let's talk honestly about something almost everyone deals with, but very few people talk about openly. The need for validation. Wanting to feel appreciated, wanting to know that someone cares, wanting some kind of reassurance that you matter to them. None of that makes you weak or needy. It makes you human. Every single person, no matter how confident they seem on the outside, wants to feel valued by the people they care about. That's not the problem. The problem starts when that desire for validation stops being a normal human want and starts becoming the thing your entire emotional state depends on. Think about what that actually looks like day to day, because it's a lot more common than people realize. You send a text, and then you find yourself checking your phone every few minutes to see if she's responded. If she replies within a few minutes, you feel good, relieved, even happy. But if 30 minutes go by with no response, something in your chest tightens. You start running scenarios in your head. Did I say something wrong? Is she upset with me? Is she losing interest? Your entire mood, your entire sense of how the relationship is going starts swinging based on something as small and as ultimately meaningless as response time. And if you're honest with yourself, you've probably felt that tightness before, that low hum of anxiety that lives just under the surface, waiting for the next notification to either soothe it or make it worse. Here's the problem with living that way, and it's a big one. When your confidence and your sense of self depend on someone else's behavior, you've essentially handed them the keys to your emotional state without them ever asking for that responsibility. You've made her response time, her mood, her level of enthusiasm on any given day the deciding factor in whether you feel good about yourself or not. And that is an exhausting way to live, not just for you, but for her too, even if she can't quite articulate why. Because being handed responsibility for someone else's confidence is a heavy, uncomfortable weight to carry, even when it's never spoken out loud. People can feel it when someone's mood is riding on their every move. And instead of drawing them closer, it tends to create distance because nobody wants to feel like they're solely responsible for holding another person together. Now think about the opposite kind of person. Someone you've met, maybe even someone you admire, who just seems settled in themselves. Their mood doesn't seem to swing based on whether someone texted back quickly. They're not glued to their phone, anxiously refreshing. When things are going well, they're genuinely present and happy about it. And when things are uncertain, they don't spiral, they just continue living their life, doing their thing, staying steady. That kind of grounded presence is genuinely magnetic. And it's not because that person figured out some clever trick to appear confident. It's because they actually are okay on their own. Their sense of worth isn't sitting in someone else's hands waiting to be validated or crushed depending on how quickly a text comes back. It's already there, built from the inside, independent of anyone else's behavior. And that's really the whole point here. This isn't about learning to fake indifference or pretending you don't care so you can seem cooler or more mysterious. That's just performance. And performance is exhausting to maintain and usually falls apart eventually. What actually works, what actually lasts, is doing the real work of building a sense of self-worth that doesn't rise and fall based on someone else's response time, mood, or level of attention on any given day. That means having your own goals that excite you regardless of what's happening in your relationship. That means having friendships, hobbies, and a sense of direction that exists independently of whether things are going smoothly with her. When you have that foundation, the anxious checking starts to fade naturally, not because you're forcing yourself to ignore your phone, but because your peace of mind was never actually dependent on it in the first place. That's not a strategy to appear more attractive. It's just what it actually feels like to be a genuinely secure person. And it turns out that security is far more compelling than any amount of eager, anxious attention ever could be.